therapy that I did was very much exposure therapy.
Yeah.
um, I stumbled across like one of the only outlets I had for like seeing the world really, that wasn't school because I was kind of it was a I grew up in a really bad neighborhood and like it wasn't the best place to learn about the world, and I was like a really nerdy reserved kid for the most part, so I didn't have a ton of friends. I wasn't allowed to have friends come over. I didn't get along with any girls, so I was like, okay, I guess I will just be a loner forever. And um, the way that I learned about the world was through TV. And back in the 90s, there were a lot of talk shows and things like that. And they were all competing over who could get the most extreme, like psychological disorders on air at one point. And one, which was great for me as a kid who was dealing with a lot of psychological issues. I was like, awesome, I'm not alone. There are people just as crazy as I am. But um, one of the episodes that I saw, I wish I could remember which show it was, but I was just so young at the time. I think I must have been 8 or 9. Was an episode where they had on people with eating disorders, body integrity disorders, and gender dysphoria. And which I now looking back, I'm like, that was so forward thinking for them to have all three on at the same
Mm.
time because they're all related. So I learned a lot from that episode, but one thing that they talked about was phototherapy, which was this experimental therapy that they were doing with eating disorder patients, where they took basically artistic nudes of the patients, and them working with doing the poses and then seeing the photos helped them relate like what they did physically with seeing their body realistically in the photos. And so fast forward to my early 20s, and there was this photographer that I really, really liked. And he did artistic underwater nudes. And it turned out not only did he live nearby, but all of his patients had some kind of, or I say patients, but at the time I just thought they were models, but then I found out they were basically patients, um, were dealing with some kind of body issue. Most of them were postpartum moms who were adjusting to their bodies after giving birth and had a lot of issues around like how they looked, and the water kind of helped make everything look softer, so they were okay with seeing themselves nude, and it helped them accept themselves and feel like not ugly and things like that. um, a lot of the other women were ones who came out of the BDSM community and had a lot of trauma processing that they had tried to do through kink, because there's that weird myth where it's like it's all about consent and empowerment and you'll feel great and get over everything if you do kink, and it's like no. So a lot of them were coming out of that community. And then one of the pictures that I saw and I was like, okay, I'm going to message him, was this woman who looked very masculine compared to this other woman. And I was like, wow, if he can do that for her, then maybe I'll see myself as masculine in the pictures. Like I will see a masculine part of myself and it'll help me like accept myself. And so um, I went to him and I explained everything. And he looked at me like really seriously when we met. And he's like, I can't make you look like her because you don't look like her, but I can show you what you do look like. And we can work together on that. And it was the first time anybody ever said that to me in no uncertain terms, that there was no way that I was ever going to look like masculine at all. I just don't. I don't have that presentation. Um, and so it was really striking, but it really made me trust him because I was like, he's not just telling me what I want to hear. So I got in the pool And I was like shaking head to toe. I was so scared and nervous and everything because I didn't know what to expect. And I'm, you know, super vulnerable. I'm nude in this pool. I'm like, I have to go underwater, which I had my own issues with water at the time too. Um, Going back to like childhood, like my dad had tried to drown me on multiple occasions. So this was like yeah, this was a big deal for me to do this. Yeah, my dad is a horrible, horrible, horrible person. Like the extent of abuse there, just yeah. But um, this is a really big moment for me to do this, and I did it. And I came out and I was like, I hadn't even seen the pictures yet, but I was just so proud of myself that I did this, you know.
And was you like, that's me? Really?
Yeah, like after, yeah, he was showing me the pictures and he was like, that's what you look like. And so we can focus on doing this more if you want, and you can come back as much as you want. You can even stay here and we can do multiple days if you want to do that.
And you had a big hand in creating the setup or the framing or the
Yeah.
composition. So you're able to be creative and set up like whatever pose that you wanted to do
Yeah, it was
in
great for
collaboration
me.
with
I
him. And
I
then, yeah.
sketched out poses and things that I wanted to try because it wasn't just about like seeing myself, but also like creating art. And it was just this incredible, like expressive experience for me. And oh, I was just addicted to it. And it like I started like being able to just look at myself and I can envision in my head like what I look like now, which before this, I could not do that. I had no concept. Like, even little things like when you're going to buy clothes, you like picture in your head what you might look like in the clothes. I couldn't do that. I had no concept of like what my body really looked
See, and
like.
this goes back to a really interesting fact in the neuroscience literature, which is that with people who have gender dysphoria, what they've found is that when they are shown opposite sex morphs of themselves on like an opposite sex body or something, their brains light up like crazy, especially the areas that are involved in self-perception and own body ownership.
Yeah.
And however, when they're shown a same-sex morph, their brains don't really activate as much. So people with gender dysphoria, they're really relating to that opposite sex morph. So they're seeing themselves more like as if they're the opposite sex.
Yeah.
But through therapy, it's likely that you can actually reduce that activation where then the activation increases for the same sex morph so that you relate more to your actual body and the sex you actually
Yeah.
are. And that's, I think, what phototherapy probably does is it actually um, it builds or potentially just reinforces and grows the maturation of those regions so that
Yeah.
you can perceive yourself more accurately.
And so it yeah, it was just it was this amazing experience. And then it also helped me relate to my body in a like in a loving way too, like an appreciation for it. Um, which I did not have, like not just because of the gender dysphoria, but um in my teens, um I like my first experience with sex was rape. And then my dad sexually abused me after that for years and trafficked me. Um at threat of killing my mom, who was pregnant at the time, and my sister. And so it was the first time I ever really saw myself nude and just was appreciative and, you know, admiring it really for the first time, being like, that's me, like my vulnerability, like, you know. So it was really transformative, and it was that like exposure therapy and seeing myself in a like a kind light, I guess would be the way to say it, which it was the first time. It was the first time. I'd always been so um revolted by my body, like as a child. Like I just wanted to cut it up. And then as I got over the gender dysphoria, started accepting, that's when the sexual abuse started. So went right back to just totally hating it. And then here I was now being like, wow, like that's me. Like that's what I look like, and I can see it now and not hate it. And it was such a valuable therapy. I would love to see that more for people. Um, and then like the photographer had also been sexually abused as a child. So just one of the first people I ever really opened up to about it was him. And it was just really good. I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like disgusting for the first time ever. I felt like a lot of self-worth and things like that for the first time. And yeah, it was really really good. And again, like the exposure therapy, talking about that stuff was extremely painful. And you don't want to talk about it. It hurts, like physically hurts to talk about that stuff. And then just being able to talk to him about it and talking to other people about it. And then finally, I went to hypnotherapy to do inner child work and stuff like that. And getting to talk about it there really, really repaired a lot of that stuff. So now my gender dysphoria is so like minimal. Like I really only have the issues like occasionally, but it's so, so rare. A little bit started when I got pregnant, and then it started that whole like, this is alien, this is wrong, this is not okay, this is really scary and gross and creepy and that sort of thing. But then um now it's I like because of him and how supportive he is and everything, and how he has just allowed me to process those things and been there for me, made me feel safe. And again, like going over all of this biology and learning about it and getting to see her growing and everything, like it's been really beautiful and positive. I'm actually for the I never thought this would happen, but I'm actually looking forward to the birth. Like I thought I'd be like terrified like, but no, I'm excited, and I'm really settling into like womanhood and embracing it and everything. And I don't know, it's just been a really great healing journey.